Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Tuesday, 5th day of June, 2018. Hope you're having a great Tuesday, whoever you are, wherever you are. Thanks for joining us. If you're returning, welcome back. If you're here for the first time, a very special welcome to you. We're so glad to have you with us. I've got a chart up of the S&P 500 Emini Futures. If you cannot see the chart, go to our homepage at CFRN.net. On the right-hand side of the page, click the big microphone, follow the instructions. You'll be registered through the end of the month. That means you'll have one-click access to the show each and every day, and you only need to register once per month. Our dual stream you'll find at youtube.com/CFRN/live. Apple co-founder. Who can fill in that blank? Because everybody just remembers Steve Jobs. Which, by the way, I did a very nice little tribute to Steve. If you go to emini.cfrn.net, you can play it. It takes exactly 1 minute and 5 seconds. It's just some of his quotes. It's no big deal. Anyway, Steve Wozniak is the man of whom I speak. And if you by chance have listened to the official Steve Jobs biography, which he commissioned before his passing, and the fact that, well, one of the quotes, it's a real ripper when he talks about the things in life that are most valuable. The quote's something about it's now obvious. So yeah, you read that and you meditate on that. But I did not know. I mean, I kind of thought Steve Jobs was the boy wonder du jour of the whole Apple thing, but Wozniak was the brains, and Jobs was more like the cojones. I don't know if you speak Spanish, but anyway, you really need to listen to that biography, okay? It takes 27 hours to listen to the whole thing. It does not paint Steve Jobs as a person who he was not. Many of us think that if a person's going to, spend big bucks and commission and oversee and micromanage, in fact, their biography, that it's going to paint a very pretty picture. I think Steve did it because he didn't want it. He didn't want the task to fall into the hands of someone else who might do that very thing, and that very thing be to try to make him look like someone who he wasn't. Okay, he was don't get me wrong, genius, brilliant, all of that and more. I mean, the way we live our lives today via the smartphone and the tablet and the etceteras, got to tip your hat to Steve. But you also have to understand he didn't do it alone. Okay, and his first buddy partner, the guy in the garage with him, was Steve Wozniak. And Steve, he, in the beginning, when Jobs realized what they had on their hands, what they had stumbled into with some circuit boards and some stuff that mostly Wozniak did, Wozniak just wanted to give it all away. He wasn't in it for the money. At least that's how the story's told. And Steve Jobs, well, he was. He came from immigrant parents. And you've heard me talk about all the crazy stuff about he would show up barefoot to meetings and he had body odor because he didn't shower because he was a fruitarian, and he didn't think it was possible for fruitarians to cast off body odor because, well, they were pure as the driven snow. But the folks at the office kept saying, "Hey, Steve, you got to take a bath, man. While you're at it, maybe put on some shoes." And he's like, no. He was kind of mean-spirited, but a genius. And so he wanted the world to know who he was, but that's not even my point today. I'll give you a copy of that audiobook if you don't have one. I can give you, courtesy of our sponsors, Audible, I give you a copy of Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas, but you probably already have that one. I can give you the official 27-hour biography of Steve Jobs. Just send me an email. Just Book at CFRN.net. I'll send you the link. You can grab a copy. All right, now, Wozniak, the genius co-founder, now that we've put all things in perspective, of Apple Computers, has once again spoken about his fascination with the tech and principles of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is mathematically defined. There is a certain quantity of Bitcoin. There's a way it's distributed. And it's pure, and there's no human running it. There's no company running it. And it's just growing and growing and surviving. That to me says something that is natural, and nature is more important than all our human conventions. Now, he said this to CNBC. Only Bitcoin is pure digital gold, and I totally buy into that. Steve Wozniak. Now, don't forget, this is the same Steve Wozniak who got hacked for, I think, 7, 8, 9 Bitcoins not too very long ago. Security is important. He's painfully aware of that now. Although I don't think it's going to change his quality of life, but if it happened to you or I, it could. So be careful out there. OKEX. It's a new exchange traded tracker. The Chinese-run cryptocurrency exchange based in Hong Kong has joined the recent trend of trading platforms by creating their own ETF-like investment tools for their users. Launched its first exchange traded tracker, ETT not ETF, on June 5th, which was fully sold out within just 3 minutes. It includes 6 coins: BTC, ETH, LTC, BCH, EOS, and OKB, and requires US dollars to subscribe. The minimum subscription for the instrument is 100 units. Now, the Singapore-based exchange, Hubai, has decided to create its own ETF-style instrument based on an index of 10 assets. Last month, Dubai-based cryptocurrency exchange BitOasis enacted a suspension of deposits and withdrawals in the UAE. Now, this Monday, without explaining what was the cause of the issue, the company announced that transactions are reinstated. In a letter to its clients, quoted by Arabian Business, BitOasis apologized for the inconvenience and said that now users can deposit and withdraw their funds in AED as usual without any interruption. In light of the recent inconsistency of service across our payment options, we will be revising and updating the options available to our customers on the platform to ensure continuity of services. We will be notifying our customers with the update on our new payment options soon. My Ether wallet, the world's most popular client-side Ethereum wallet, has been compromised by a DNS attack. It happened April 24th, 2018. Today, the team behind the wallet issued a response to the event, further explaining what happened and detailing the steps taken to prevent its reoccurrence. We were reporting that story live as it happened. They say that the attack was carried out by a native Russian speaker, which was able to phish only about $150,000 worth of Ether from any of my Ether wallet users. It's 150 total. They quote internet security experts as explaining that the financial resources required for such an attack most likely exceeds the amount of funds taken. Yeah, okay. The team added that it is a lack of safety education that led some clients to fall for the fraud. We hope that from this experience, every single person who interacts with cryptocurrencies and the blockchain will understand how important self-education is. In the end, you and only you are responsible for your security. And that's a true story. A quick look at the numbers around the world, and then we go to Michael for a recap of the live trading room today. The Dow currently down 69 points. NASDAQ up 3. S&P 500 down 4, and the Russell 2000 up 2. Pretty quiet. In the commodity basket, crude oil up 21 cents, trading 64.96 last. And gold, go gold, up $2.79, trading $1,300.10 last. Yeah. In Asia, at the close, the Nikkei added 63 points, the Shanghai added 23, the Hang Seng tacked on 95. Again, pretty quiet trading. And in European markets, the FTSE fell 54, the DAX climbed 16, and the CAC lost 12. So there you have it. It is a green day in Asia, a mixed day in Europe, and here at home in the US of A, a mixed day as well. Mixed and quiet. So with that, we go to Michael for a recap of everything that happened in the live training room today. Michael, if you're ready, take it away. I didn't know it did. I'll look. I'll open my email. I'll open my email. Okay. I'm sorry. What? I have no idea. Mm, I sent him an email, but I don't see a return email. So, yeah, that's usually what it is. Okay. All right. Well, thanks. I'm not sure why I didn't get it, but anyway, go ahead. All right, I'll hit mute and it's all yours. Boo boo. Yes. A recap of the recap, please. 18 minutes, one trade. Well, that's just smoking hot. Good job. Very good job. Awesome. 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 Okay. Very good. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay. Hi, John. Welcome to the show. I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. Oh, look at that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You did. You did. Oh, look at this. Look at this copper, John. We're just taking out these two previous highs on the daily chart. See that? Yeah, that's yes, I do. Uh-huh. Good job. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, it looks like the high, the intraday high, was put in back on 514. See that little wick right there? Uh, but the close, but this far, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. The closing high of the year would be right here. Looks like, yeah, right there. Okay, so we've already taken that out. We've taken out the closing high. All time intraday. Oh, okay, gotcha. All time, all time, all time. Yeah. Mm. Can you see my chart? This is the gap lower open Sunday night. Now Friday we had a pretty strong day, right? What do you what did was there some news event over the weekend? Weather? Okay, okay, all right, okay. your comments just now on Twitter? Oh, okay. So now, all right, because I'm seeing a gap higher open today. Right. Now, was that news just announced last night? I mean, so nobody knew it was coming, or did they? So who got kicked to the curb to make way for Twitter? Hmm. Okay. What was their news? Yeah. Remember when you and I had those walkie-talkie cell phones years ago? Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, we looked at that yesterday. Boy, it's running right into that trend line. Take a look on the daily right here. It hit it yesterday, and when it hit it, it sold off, and then it gapped lower on the open this morning, but then ran higher right back up to that trend line. So maybe it doesn't get through the first time. That doesn't mean it can't get through. What's maximum symbol MX? There we go. Well, that earnings pop is it's incredible there that they got back. That's back to the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, look at these tails here. This is on just a 30-minute chart. These tails on the S&P. I want to send it back up to test. Now keep in mind, guys, these are last week's weekly trading zones. So, I mean, those are a guideline. And as I suggested yesterday, when I give out the zones on Thursday to the general public, of course, the partners get on Monday morning, but when I give it to you guys on Thursday, it's worth jotting down because it will guide you into the Sunday night open, as it did beautifully this past Sunday night and yesterday, and even today. It's you got a general idea. It's not the same as having this week's zones and being a partner, but it's the next best thing. So if I were to glance at my little sheet here, partners can tell you exactly why price stopped where it did and turned around, and then it came up to test. So now that I'm looking at it from that perspective, well, you know what? The high of the day and the low of the day, I'm going to leave it at this. The high of the day and the low of the day, partners had that information on their charts waiting for it to happen, because that's what we sent them yesterday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. And on Thursday, when I put them out for the world to see, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So that's good stuff. Let me open the chat box and see if there's any questions for you. I haven't opened it yet. I just lost it. Where'd it go? Somebody do me a favor. Type something in the chat box and see if I can find it. Just type an X or a Y or a Z. I was passing it from screen to screen and I dropped it. All right. Well, we'll just go ahead and it'll pop back up here in a minute, I assume. That's not it. That's Telegram. Hey, do you ever use Telegram? Use the app Telegram? We've been using it for a while to deliver our daily double, and it's a pretty good free application. And it's, in fact, China, I think, is trying to ban the use of Telegram, but that's a whole nother story. Well, guys, I don't know what happened to the chat box, but it's gone. I guess did I delete it? I don't think you can delete it. What's this up here? Is that it? Nope. All right. Well. All right. So back to this S&P. What do you see? Okay, the Fed meeting's what next? Not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow. Yeah, and expectation is for a quarter point raise. Could the economy be heating up too quickly? Okay. See, did the NQ turn around as well? Well, it's trying to. It got back down to this area where it based out, overnight. Came right back to it, and now it's bouncing. What the Dow? What's it up to? Well, came right down to last week's zone, guys. It hit last week's zone overhead, came down to last week's zone below. All right. So based on this, we should be making a run. We're at 760 on the Dow, 24,760. If we're going to run 24. 800, 820, so about 40 to 60 points of blue sky overhead, and all we got to do is just buyers just have to keep buying. That's all. The moment buyers stop buying, the markets fall apart. In order for markets to rally, it takes financial commitment on the part of buyers. But for markets to decline, all that needs to happen is the buyers step back and say, you know what, I'm not going to fight this. The sellers want to. Now, this is more easily done in futures than it is with stocks because of long-term portfolio planning and all these other things. But with futures, you can turn on a dime. You know, you buy a rising market, you sell a falling market. You even buying squirrel finds an acorn every now and then. So uh, it's just you could be so much more nimble and in tune with what's happening. I know that the world the world at large, 95%, is still trading equities, and probably for good reason, so that the other 5% of us can get away with doing what we do in futures, because it's just a beautiful marketplace. Everything from the buying power to you name it, tax repercussions, everything. All right, what market you want to look at now? Yes, they are. I see it. Now, we've fallen from $68 last week down to 64 and change this week. That's a big 1 week decline for crude. You're still in June on the dollar? Isn't it DX? DX? I had this issue last week. DX. When is that coming up? I don't know. Anyway. Uh, Now here's a daily of the peso right here. Boy, that's a daily chart, guys. That's quite a drop. Huh. Now, there's big news out of China. They're writing a purchase order for $70 billion worth of goods from America. Did you read that? Yeah, it's right here. Let's see. China has offered to purchase close to $70 billion worth of U.S. goods over the next year, according to the Wall Street Journal. The deal would include purchases of soybeans, corn, natural gas, crude oil, coal, and more. It could help alleviate some of the trade tension between the Trump administration and China. This comes from Ling Ling Wei and Bob Davis at the Wall Street Journal. Over close to $70 billion worth of American goods. That's almost as much money as Warren Buffett has. He's got 83 billion. the first time I went to Africa, that was my first experience with the VAT, the VAT, and you only had to pay the VAT if you ate in a restaurant that was run by people from India. Lot of folks from India with money come and set up shop in Africa and start businesses. But if you ate in one of their restaurants, you on your bill you had to pay the VAT. Is that common, uncommon? Yeah, now I don't know if that applies. Like if you were to go, if the same Indian man owned a restaurant and a grocery store, I don't know if you pay the value added tax in the grocery store or just in the restaurant. I don't know. It was the first time I had heard of value. I've been all over the world, but I hadn't been in European countries, and so most of my travels were through the Philippines and Hong Kong and Australia. That part of the world. So if you wanted to buy, yeah. So she will use this Harley Davidson thing as an example because it's an easy number, 100%. What if I what if I fly to the U.S. and buy a Harley Davidson in the U.S.? Can I have it shipped over and avoid that tariff, that tax? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just gonna say, like when we were in Amsterdam years ago, we got in a rental car one day and said, "Let's go to Germany," and and so we just drove there and had lunch in another country, and then drove back to our hotel. And you're right, it's just like going from South Carolina to North Carolina. You know, right? Masterpiece. How did they do that? Hmm. That train underwater business, I think I might feel a little claustrophobic. Yeah, now flying, that doesn't. I've done it all my life, so it doesn't. I don't even think twice about getting on an airplane. And I assume that once you take that train a time or two under the channel, then you you don't think about it. Hmm. The train system in France. We were mostly in Paris, but in Paris it's called the metro or the metropole or but that thing is it's just I mean if you want to go somewhere across the city, you just walk down into the and like a train just appears. I mean there's so many and they run on such a great schedule. I mean you can almost always just I mean you might wait 5 minutes. I think that's the longest. What was the historic big thing in history about in Germany making the trains run on time? Okay, all right. So that all right. I picked that up in some movie the other day. I heard that. I'm like, okay, what are they referencing here? I get it. Okay. Hmm. Now, Ray Dalio, you mentioned him earlier. Um, he's not a perma bear, is he? Or is he? Well, I saw a headline this morning that said biggest bear on Wall Street says the economy is going to fall apart because of, and then I ran into a paywall, and I refused to pay at the paywall. Okay, all right, okay. What's the book he wrote that's really popular? Maybe he's written more than one. I don't know. I'm not really familiar with his work, but I do remember there was something about printing money or I lost my friend the internet. Ray Dahlia books. Let's see. Life and Work, that's not it. The Alpha Masters, Principles of Life and Work seems to be a very popular one, but that's not the one. I well, I'll have to look into that. Oh, Ray Dalio books. Maybe it's here. Principles of Life and Work. Yeah, I thought they were going to list all his books on this page, but apparently they aren't. And if I have my chat box, somebody in the audience probably knows. But bestseller and #1 Amazon Business Book of the Year. Ray Dalio is the founder and co-chairman of Bridgewater Associates, which over the last 40 years has become the largest and best performing hedge fund in the world. That's no small claim. He's the author of #1 New York Times bestseller and #1 Amazon Business Book of the Year, Principles. That's simply the name of this book, Principles. He has appeared on the Time 100 list of the most influential people in the world, as well as the Bloomberg Markets list of the 50 most influential people. He lives with his family in Connecticut. He's a his picture there. He kind of looks like the guy that you might run into at the get your car. I'm trying to think of name one of the big car places, Tune Masters or Oil Changers or whatever that place is. He just kind of got that everyday guy kind of look. He doesn't look like a big shot, you know. He doesn't have that. He looks like a nice fella. I don't know. Anyway. All right, John. Okay. Have a great day. Talk to you tomorrow. All right. That's going to do it for us, guys. We got to cut it short today. We'll recap everything else that took place today when we do our full recap tomorrow. It's been kind of flat and sideways, so I'm going to miss a whole lot. The S&P, we ran right down to 2739, which is in the email where we had said to consider getting it short. Here, we wanted to be long 2750, I believe it was. Oh, let me turn John's mic off for him. Okay, here we go. So ran right down to the number, did an about face. But up here, the market was not quite as kind. We put in a high at 52.50. That's 1.5 points. This is 3 ticks, which is just enough to get you stopped out. Now, there you go. I said it. Stops happen. That's the truth about trading. And then sometimes price just runs right down to the number, heads back the other way. And so here we rage in the range. On the Dow, we said to consider selling 24,770, dropped 60 points. Nothing wrong with that. And no trigger on the long side. On the Russell, we were looking for 63 to get long. Again, just enough to make you say, And then on the short side, it was 1650. So you got out of that unscathed in Q. Boy, this sideways stuff, it's not conducive. 7170. Okay, we can live with 7170. It took us to 7450. This took us all the way to 83. That's livable, and nothing on the short side. Crude oil. Last night's email said to consider being short. Let's see, 64.85, and that would be right here, 64.85. From 64.85, we dropped to a low of 64. Call it, we'll round it up to 25. So that's $600 per contract available. On the long side, keep your eye on 60. If this thing keeps climbing, keep your eye on 65.70. 65.70. And gold. Go gold. Consider buying 1301. Which is right about here. And it took us up to that's $480 per contract available. $480 per contract available. Now, we never get out at the swing high or the swing low. Why? Because we teach you to trail a stop. If you trail a stop, you'll always leave a little something on the table. Why? Well, think about it and you'll figure it out. Okay? All right. And we'll go over these in greater detail tomorrow as time permits. Now, we talked yesterday about desire. The 4 categories of desire. Today is part 2. Psalm 37:4. He shall give you the desires of your heart. Now, that scripture will preach for an hour and sometimes 2. What is that scripture saying? I want you to think about this, especially in light of Jesse and his new Gulfstream private jet that he wants. This was a $54 million private jet. He's got 3, but I woke him up, and I'm not making fun now. I don't make fun of the man of God, so I'm just saying this is what's in the news. So this scripture, forget Jesse, forget the jet. Psalm 37:4. He shall give you the desires of your heart. Now, does that mean if you really want a brand new Cadillac, and you've been a good boy or girl, that God's going to give you a brand new Cadillac? I mean, it does say he shall give you the desires of your heart, right? Or does it mean that whatever it is that you desire, God has placed that in your heart? Some people are going, no, I'm going with the Cadillac. No, think about it. When you decide that you want to serve God, when you make a commitment or a contract with the Supreme Being that says, I want to put other people's needs, wants, needs, and desires ahead of my own in your name. Is it possible that God takes the desires of his heart and places them in your heart so that you now see the world through God's eyes? When you touch someone, it's with God's hands. When you travel somewhere to make a difference, it's on God's feet. Huh? Same scripture, 2 completely different meanings. I've heard it preached both ways, and let me just be totally transparent. I've preached it both ways. I told you that in the mid-90s, late 90s, I got caught up for a minute in the prosperity gospel. And then I came to my senses, which was kind of the middle of the road. Now, I covered this yesterday. In no way do I think God takes pleasure in seeing his child broke, with a car that won't make it to church, holes in their shoes. No. What good father could take any pride in that? None. Nobody. Nothing. Nah. So, but the other side too, so I ended up in the middle of the road, which I think was a good place to be. And I tested both ends of the spectrum. I preached the prosperity gospel and then the not so prosperity gospel, and then it brought me to where I am today, which I think is semi-balanced. I know people would argue with that. So you meditate on that, and you may have heard it only preached one way, or you may have heard it both ways, and you may have not ever even given it any thought. So jot it down. Psalm 37:4. He shall give you the desires of your heart. What does that mean to you? Now, the desire to achieve. The first thing God said to Adam in Genesis 1:28 was this: be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and have dominion. The reason you have such a strong desire to accomplish something in life is because God created you to do it. Few people were more motivated by achievement than Paul, who wrote most of the New Testament. He was definitely an overachiever, right? Acts 20:24. My life is worth nothing to me unless I use it for finishing the work assigned to me by the Lord Jesus. God didn't take away Paul's desire to achieve. He harnessed it so Paul could fulfill God's will. A strong career drive accompanied by the desire to learn and achieve can be very good things, unless they lead to workaholism, worshiping status, neglecting prayer, and manipulating other people. That sounds like an episode of Dallas. When that happens, you need to reevaluate your motivation. But if that's not the case, and you find yourself growing in God with a fire inside you to accomplish something, go forth and achieve. Exercise dominion the way God intended. Use your ability, whatever God-given ability you have, use it to accomplish good things for others. I'm telling you, if in all these years, 13 I guess it's been, of CFRN, 05, 18, fast math, 13, yeah. If you take nothing else away from this show in 13 years, take that away. Everybody's scratching their head. Okay, got your pen? All right, you ready? Learn to put the wants, needs, and desires of others ahead of your own. Now, this applies to God, your spouse, and everyone else on your list, because that's how your list should look. God's at the top, spouse second, children third, and then everybody else. Okay? When you take your eyes off yourself and put them on whether it's an orphan in Africa or the single mom struggling to raise 2 kids 3 doors down the street. See, some people don't realize there's orphans and widows in America. There's probably an orphan or widow or both living on your street. And you're like, not my street. I live in a gated community. Okay, well, the biblical definition of a widow is someone who has lost a widow is someone who has lost their husband. A widower lost their wife. Now, whether it was through war or sickness or he was just a no-good drunk and ran off, she's still a widow. And that little boy that you see sitting down in the park with his head hung low, because there's no other children in your gated community, tossing that little ball up and down, up and down, up and down. That boy's an orphan. Get off your butt, get off the couch, get out the front door, go down there, take a glove, take a bat, introduce yourself, and play ball. And go introduce yourself to his mother. She doesn't think you're some kind of weirdo. Now let her know that you live 2 doors down and that she's got a fine boy there. And if she ever needs anything, that she can call on you or your wife. Make sure she knows that you're not after her. You know, that you got your own woman. I'm using this as just an example, you know. Yes, I've gone to the other side of the world to help people, but don't ever get it in your head that you got to go to the other side of the world to help people. There's plenty of people that need help right here, right now. In fact, I might be one of them. Huh. Well, what does he need? Well, you won't know until you get to know me, will you? Oh, you trying to say this is all about relationship? Yeah. It's about a body of believers doing life together. We can think on that too. So, the big takeaway after 13 years. If you want to find joy, happiness, the peace that surpasses all understanding, what do? Get your eyes off yourself. You focus on the wants, needs, and desires of someone else. And when you do something in the secret place, and I'm talking between you and God, right? When you do something for someone who you know will never be able to repay your kindness, possibly never even know that you are behind the kindness, you get all of heaven's attention. Their eyes are on you because you just became the Adam that God originally created before sin, before the fall, before the apple. Yeah. No, not that apple, the other one. You with me here? Want to go back to the garden? Want to set things right? Want to live in the world that God originally intended for us to live in? You got the power. Get up off the couch. Get out that door. You should put a post-it note on your front door. Not on the outside, but on the inside. Put a little post-it note on the inside of your front door that says you are now entering the mission field. Am I done? No. Put a post-it note on the other side of the door too. Because sometimes when we come home, we've been out there in the world doing good, right? We flew around the world and we built houses for some widows and we came back home and we played ball with the orphan boy down the street. But then we come through the front door of our own home, the one that God so gracefully graced us with. And we're like Jekyll and Hyde, yelling at the wife, screaming at the kids. Oh my God. Who left all these lights on? What are you trying to do? Air condition the neighborhood and light it up? I mean, really? Charity begins at home, okay? So before I want you to get up off the couch, but before you get out the front door, I want you to speak a positive confession over your children's life and day. You should do that every morning as they go out the front door. And if you're raising your grandchildren, same thing. And I know many of you are. And then go find your wife wherever she's at. She's probably upstairs in the laundry room. Seems like that's where she spends half her life. She's either in the laundry room or in the kitchen. You spin her around and you look her in the eye and you tell her how much you love her. And you don't say it like you mean it. You say it because you do mean it. Ask yourself, where would you be without her? I don't even think I'd still be here, quite frankly. But hey, maybe you got a different story to tell. But guess what? That's your story. And I got my story. And together it makes his story or history. Exercise dominion. You can turn your world into the world that God originally intended before Adam dropped the apple. Use your God-given ability, whatever it is, to accomplish good things for other people. Other people. Other people. Say that with me. Other people. Other people. Other people. Got it? Other people. Now, at that point, Whether you're contributing to a meeting, adding value to a team, or formulating ideas, you'll know it's more than just you. You'll sense it, you'll feel it, and you'll say woohoo, and you'll ride the wave. And I'm telling you, when you're riding his wave, you don't have time to wave. When you develop relational skills that enable you to bond with clients and associates, guess what? You can simultaneously pray for them and bless them. As you experience joy in your achievements, your life is pleasing to God. See, you can be wildly successful and still be God's child. He's not going to kick you to the curb because you did good. Now, if you stagnate like a pond that has no outlet, he'll drain your swamp real quick. Make sure you keep the water flowing. Word of advice, every now and then, just remember to stop and thank him that you, me, get to do something that you love doing. You see, I see the faces on some of the folks that come through my neighborhood knocking on doors. Hi, I'm from blah blah. And they hand you their pamphlet. Can I tell you about God today? Yeah, sometimes they're very pleasant, very happy, but sometimes they're like automated, you know. I gotta be careful, I don't want to offend anybody. Are you doing something that you love? Because you might have a problem with my closing statement here. Every now and then, remember to stop and thank God that you of all people, get to do something you actually love doing. Well, I don't like what I do. I get up every day. I'm in traffic 2 hours. You know, my boss is mean. My coworkers talk about me, and then I get back in the car, and it's a 2-hour commute back home, to where my wife is not happy to see me. Blah blah blah. Okay, fair enough. How about this? Go get your Bible and read Psalm 37:4. He shall give you the desires of your heart. Guess what? When he gives you the desires of his heart and places them in your heart, trust me, you're going to love what you're doing. You're going to light up like a Christmas tree. I promise you. That's our good word for the day. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with his mercy and with his grace. And I'll see you at the bell.